further and further and further, over halfway through Season 3 and on we go, so take a journey with me as I watch through Star Wars Rebels for the first time. Well, hello there, my name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney. Quick notes for today, it is a Rebels weekend, a video today, a video tomorrow, and a live stream on Sunday. Yo. And well, okay, that's kind of in part because I'm a little backed up on getting these couple regular videos out. But hey, that means lots of Rebels in a short period right here. Yeah. Well, anyway, with that out of the way, it's time to jump once more into Season 3 of Rebels. So this is the regular video to go along with the live stream I had the other week. So here we go. First up is episode 14 of Season 3, Warhead. This one starts off, it feels a little like the opening of Empire Strikes Back with the launching of probe droids into the far reaches of the galaxy, busy looking for the rebels and, well, Luke Skywalker especially. But in this case, instead it's pods being sent out with droids, so little shuttles actually, I guess more than pods. And hey, at least the spiders take care of the one that goes to our planet. Good job, spiders. Well, off to our people. The Ghost crew is heading off while Zeb, who's apparently chief of security, I guess, at the base, remains along with Chopper and AP5. Pretty clear where the humor is going to come from in this episode, and yeah, certainly that worried me off the bat. So they go out, find a random droid, and decide to simply fix it up and bring it online. Yeah, the smartest cookies around right here. Luckily for them, Agent Callus gets overused in this episode and warns him about the droid via transmission as Fulcrum. Dang man, the amount you make these transmissions all the time, you'd think you'd be discovered a little faster. Unless he already has. Well anyway, now it becomes Hunt the Mighty Super Armed Droid, because it gets activated and it's not just a little protocol droid anymore. You get a little horror feeling with the droid killing other droids and kind of almost like drinking their blood as it's taking their fluids and also sometimes parts. Eventually we get Chopper as a decoy, Zeb to hold it down while AP5 deactivates it. Well, there you go. Although, not so easy because apparently it's a self-destruct device which is tamper-proof. Although it can just be frozen, so it's not that tamper-proof. Because that's how you stop self-destruct devices, just freeze them. Oh, but luckily, while the self-destruct device is tamper-proof, the droid's memory is not tamper-proof. You guys might have thought about that one a little bit right there. You should have it if the memory was being messed with or the programming, that maybe also the bomb goes off. So anyway, our rebels decide to send the droid back to the Empire and have it self-destruct there. And, well, it does. So then we come to the end and Callus impressed with the rebels and Thrawn's brought in at the very end just to go ahead and say, "Aha! It narrowed it down to 94 planets." Gotta tell you, I think it would be far more narrowed down than that. Only the unaccounted for return droids are possible at this point, and that ought to only leave a handful of planets at most. Either that or you're telling me that all the data on which droids were brought back was kept only on that Star Destroyer, and that data was completely destroyed when that one came back and blew up. Let's hope they weren't that dumb. But anyway, yeah, you know, certainly this was not the greatest episode. A few decent moments in it, but otherwise pretty skippable. Now, who knows, maybe we're gonna find something in it that will become more meaningful later on down the line. Don't get me wrong, there were a few fun moments. Now on to episode 15, Trials of the Dark Saber. So these next couple episodes are part of why it had been suggested I live stream these right here. Ooh, these are gonna be much better, night and day compared to what we just watched there in 14. Now, first off, with a title like this, Trials of the Dark Saber, I'm just saying. Got a bit of an idea of where we're going. So Fen Rao is around, Kanan shows him the Darksaber in private, which gives us a chance to get a little backstory and lore right there. So we get to talk about how it's a symbol for the leader of House Vizsla, and later Death Watch as we saw back in Clone Wars. And heck, it was actually created over 1,000 years ago by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian inducted into the Jedi Order, but was later liberated from the Jedi Temple by members of House Vizsla, and then became a symbol for the rule of Mandalore because House Vizsla ruled Mandalore and used it as such a symbol. And so yeah, definitely if you're talking about raising an army, taking back Mandalore and potentially helping the rebellion would be a really good thing to have on your side. In this case, with Sabine leading it, as Fen Rao says. Nice. But Sabine doesn't want that responsibility, and we have a beautiful shot where we come in for this lonely, pensive shot of Sabine in her room, alone in her thoughts. Art of the ghost family near the ceiling. It just really nicely done. Just taking its moment right there in some silence. And well, she heads out to, I guess what you could almost call an intervention, shall we say, with all of them there to hopefully try to convince her to go ahead and do it. The piece that really helps push her toward it, or to be willing to at least consider it, I think is really Hera asking her. I mean, Kanan as well, but just because of the relationship they have. And as I said, it's nicely done. Certainly, you know, hey, we're not telling you have to or anything, just asking you to, right? Yeah, ow. Okay, so now it's going to go ahead and be time to do some training with the Dark Saber. Again, trials with the Dark Saber, right? It also means Ezra's going to get to be a little annoying here at times. He takes a little too much pleasure in actually, well, at something being better than Sabine had, right? Now, Kanan starts this really slow. He's just training with wood sabers, and then makes her train with Ezra, and you just gotta go, oy vey, Kanan. Kanan looks at it as trying to do things differently because he wasn't careful with Ezra. Although in conversations with Hera kind of gets to it a little more. Hera thinks it's because of Sabine lacking having the Force, while Kanan then at least concedes a bit more of what's going on, talking about Sabine being conflicted and stubborn and less open to the Force, even though, of course, she's not a Force user, but it's still relevant. But yeah, Kanan's just a little resistant right there, and worried about his own failings he's had before in the past when it comes to training Ezra. So it's a nice extra touch in here to really be able to show those sides as well. Well, anyway, we get some more fun in terms of the fight because Fen Rao pops up, bringing some supplies for Sabine. Some Mandalorian man braces, which means she's got grappling lines, paralyzing darts, a repulsor, all kinds of good stuff. And well, with that, she definitely takes Ezra down fairly easily. And then she tries to take on Kanan, who pulls out his actual lightsaber at that point, and yeah. Oh, the reaction of Kanan on that, more than a little teed off, just really wants to enforce the training and discipline, because that's exactly the problem he was saying before, back to the conflicted and stubbornness and not being open to the training in the Force. And that just feels to him, obviously, as an example of that. So more than a little teed off, Sabine runs on off, which actually gives us a nice moment between Sabine and Ezra. Ezra doesn't do as good a job commiserating as he might want to, but trying to commiserate as a fellow student of Kanan. But we get those comments about Sabine talking about being a disgrace to her family, a traitor, which we've touched on earlier without going into the details of it. And then Ezra kind of screws up any chance he had at a nice moment there. At least you have parents to go back to. It's like, good job there, Ezra. Good job. Somehow I don't think that makes it any better right there. Well, anyway, Hera eventually convinces Kanan to let Sabine train with the Dark Saber, and it's a really nice conversation between the two. Definitely liked it. And here's where we get into, wow, what is easily by far the best scene in the episode, and one of the best scenes really out of Rebels as a whole, because during the course of that dueling, this becomes a chance to really have the dialogue. We start by just going through the forms faster and faster, but Kanan then starts bringing out more, talking about, you're not fighting me, you're fighting yourself, and losing, and getting her to start to confront why she doesn't want to go ahead and see her family again, why she doesn't want to go ahead and have the Dark Saber, etc. She left to go ahead and try to save everyone, her family, Mandalore, but she ended up building weapons, terrible weapons for the Empire, which ended up using it on Mandalore, on her family and friends, in fear of the very weapons she helped create. So, you want to talk about some guilt? Some huge guilt. You know, she spoke out to try to save everyone, but then her family didn't stand with her. They chose the Empire instead, and so she left after they left her. Whoa. Yeah. But really, again, nothing I say here can do that scene justice, so yeah. It's incredibly well done. The emotions, the dialogue, super well written. The music in the background of this whole piece And in the end, she comes into her own power over the course of it too, after she's confronted her own problems. And at the end, starting with Fan Rao saying that he would go ahead and follow Sabine and kneeling there in front of her, and the other two also do. Yeah, back to her ghost family and how they will stick with her, whatever she ends up choosing. And that's really how we end, is with them kneeling around Sabine looking at the Dark Saber, and powerful scene, very well done, super emotional scene too. This, and if we're looking at the finale back in season 2, probably for the most emotional scenes within the series at this point. And for me, this one got to me more. Ooh, really well done. And with that, it's on to episode 16, The Legacy of Mandalore. Part 2. We're off to Cronist, which Sabine hasn't been there since she went off to the Imperial Academy way back. In other words, where Clan Ren is. So Sabine's mother, who is the head of Clan Ren, we're going to see. Gonna be fun. So in this case, we got Sabine, Kanan, Ezra, Fen Rao's in there, Chopper's in there. Largely the same group we were really talking with and dealing with mainly last episode too. And of course, they didn't give them advance warning, so we get jetpack Mandalorians to greet them and shoot them down. Whee! Another happy landing. Yeah. Well, the rest of them exit the ship to go ahead and see the Mandalorians who are going to come see him. Without Fen Rao, we keep him in the ship. But it's just probably for the best. Seeing Fen Rao might not be good right now. But hey, it also means you get to make a dashing, heroic entrance later. Oh, and as far as Ezra and Kanan, yeah, revealing your Jedi that early, probably not a good move in front of Mandalorians, I'm just saying. Bit of bad blood there. At least Sabine's brother Tristan is the one leading the group. That kind of calms things down a little. And then when they get to the house, the introduction of Sabine's mother, Ursa Wren, just in the way we have her walk out, visually, and also the music brought in for it, really nicely done. And certainly shows the power dynamic right off the bat. Although revealing the Dark Saber does shift that power dynamic a little bit. Now, random comment. Some point I want to hear more about these weapons that Sabine helped create. We don't hear, but man, I'm curious about it. Anyway, as we go in, the interactions between Sabine and her mother really are well done. Definitely, you catch the tension between them, the bit of a power struggle in there too. And between the dialogue and how it's done, nicely done. And we also catch a couple other things in there too. Interesting about how her father is being held essentially as a captive over on Mandalore itself to help keep the clan in line. Just those tiny little pieces. Probably not the biggest surprise when it comes to it right there, that they do something like that to help keep the different clans in line, especially Clan Ren. And we also get the pieces, not that Sabine is fully on board here, but from Ursa talking about how she didn't go out and try to find Sabine in order to actually keep Sabine safe. And that Ursa really has been doing what she's been doing to try to protect her family and the clan as a whole in whatever way she can. And then we have Ursa contacting and talking to Saxon in the next scene. Yeah, considering things, probably not a surprise. Then we get a sparring session between Sabine and her brother Tristan. Again, really good. And hey, we get backstory about how the other tribes turned against them. And we get character development for Tristan, talking about his motives to protect his father, restore their name, etc. So another nice set of interactions. And when we're here, some of the dialogue and the interactions are really good. Definitely some of the better writing we've seen here in the show. And of course, the voice acting is really well done too. Well, anywho, then Saxon shows up, and Ursa gives him the Dark Saber, and then he predictably turns on them to make an example of Clan Ren as they harbor traitors. Look at these Jedi and Sabine here. Oh yes. Well, this is one of the few beats in the episode, the very few beats, really, actually, probably the only one that really didn't work, where they just make Saxon a one-dimensional, mustache-twirling, evil bad guy who is evil for no good reason. Just making an example of them when you could have them more allied and in debt to you, probably not the greatest plan you ever had. Oh well. While the motivation and the setup of that is not good, what develops from it does work out really nicely. So really it's the only sour note I think I'd say in the whole episode, which hardly stops it from being a very good episode. Well anyway, amongst other things, it leads to Tristan getting to make the choice to side with his family as opposed to, well, the Empire in this case, represented by Saxon. And with that, it's time for Fenrau to make his heroic entrance, and we get a big fun fight out of all of this. Ezra ends up passing a lightsaber to Sabine in the course of it, and she's able to take on Saxon, and who, well, now has a dark saber. We get a big epic fight with, well, big epic music to go with it. And eventually it becomes just the two of them outside on the ice. Big honor battle right there, which means of course no one else is going to get involved. And by the way, side note, Mandalorians and getting their jetpacks damaged. Both of them do at one point or the other, so now they're both on the ground. Man, if that's not one of our tropes we just love doing all the time, right? Dang. Well anyway, eventually she defeats Saxon, and being rebels and being where we go with Sabine, she's not going to go ahead and slice his head off even though he chooses not to yield. And that's just not who she is, even though, you know, that's definitely the Mandalorian way. And so she starts walking off, and Saxon, predictably, tries to shoot her in the back because he still has a hidden weapon on him, which gives Ursa the time to go ahead and shoot him. So there we go, Saxon is dead, we're done with him, no more of that. And Sabine definitely dueled and beat somebody with a dark saber, so we guess we can say she has a claim to the dark saber at this point, right? I mean, we could still argue that the way Saxon got the dark saber wasn't by beating anybody in combat, so does that negate the whole fighting and getting the dark saber? Oh, that's a whole mess right there. Or do we still have to give the dark saber back to Maul sometime and have somebody fight Maul in order to get the dark saber and really have that claim of authority? Yeah, if we're really gonna go down that road. Well, anyway, we get our final moments of this episode here. Ursa talking about how Mandalore must rise by itself rather than getting help from the rebellion to go ahead and help fight off the oppression of the Empire. And Sabine, well, Sabine's choosing to stay with her family and to fight for Mandalore and perhaps join the rebellion someday later once they've really been able to stand on their own. So yeah, she's not going to be with the Ghost Crew anymore, and whoa, if that's not a huge change. But we do get one last note in here. We do get Fenrau and Sabine getting one last piece, which is Fenrau talking about how well she did, and definitely with everyone saw you and all, you could definitely lead Mandalore. But Sabine knocks that down, you know, saying, no, this was about my family. I'm not Mandalore's leader, but I'll find the person who is. And that's our last note after the Ghost Crew has already left here, which is an interesting final note. We'll see whether Sabine becomes a reluctant leader or ends up, well, finding someone else who is Mandalore's leader. Somebody like Bo-Katan or somebody else like that, of course, right? Interesting spot. And again, back to Sabine is leaving the show. It's like, whoa, I'm sad to lose her, but so happy for her and her character's development here at the same time, because dang, if there's a way to go out and one that's fitting for her character, very nice. Now that said, I'm sure it's not the last time we see her in Rebels. I'm sure she'll pop up again at some point here. Remainder of season 3 and all of season 4, there's no way she doesn't pop up in there at least once or twice. But still, I gotta be honest, I never expected any of the main cast to actually leave in that way. Nice willingness to go ahead and shake things up. Well, anyway, definitely enjoyed these 3 episodes. I mean, the first one was enjoyable enough if skippable. But Sabine's 2-part exit from the show was incredible and a great example of the best I've seen from Rebels. And I guess my first question is whether she'll show up in the season 3 finale or not. It feels a little early to me, but it's possible she'll show up in the season 3 finale. And hey, while I'm at it, can we get a Mandalore spin-off series? Something that starts earlier than this and then gets to cover Sabine and House Wren when she comes back. Obviously tie into the live action series and whatever we're doing here a bit here in the future. Could be fun. Well, anyway, tomorrow I will have the last 3 regular episodes prior to the bit I'm going to go through both the live and the finale on Sunday. So I will see you then. And with that, well, what about you? Did Sabine's departure catch you off guard as much as it did me? And hey, while we're at it, who do you think should lead Mandalore? Let me know down below in the comments. And let me take a moment to thank all of my wonderful patrons once again. If you are interested in helping support the channel through Patreon, there is a link down below in the description. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like, it really helps out. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you back here tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. Have a magical day, and may the Force be with you, always.